We're here today with Dr. Ray Lewis, and maybe just give a little background of where you went to school and where you got your doctorate.
I grew up in California and went to a community college for 2 years, finished off my undergraduate at UC Berkeley. Master's degree, went to Canada, University of British Columbia, master's in botany, working with seaweeds. Came back to California, worked for a few years before doing my PhD at University of California, Santa Barbara, on genetics and reproduction in the brown algae known as kelps.
I was just wondering, maybe you could say a little bit about Bible and science, and there seems to be a big conflict there, and I was just wondering your view and opinion, how it has affected you.
I think rather than take you through my journey on this, I'm going to just take you where I'm at right now. I'm at Wheaton College, and I really like the combination of top-notch academics and orthodox Christian faith that characterizes Wheaton College. And they're looking at God's general revelation, what's available from us to observe from all that's around us, and special revelation, where God has particularly revealed through His Word, through Jesus, that these are both revelations of God. Indeed, the two ought to work well together. If we understand God's general revelation, which we understand through science, and special revelation through theology, and as those understandings should very much be in concert with each other. And I've found, indeed, that they do work well together. Yes, I was certainly brought up with an idea that Genesis indicates that the earth was young, and I was very, very puzzled for a long time. It's only when I realized that there are good ways of interpreting Genesis without positing a young earth. In other words, I didn't have to throw away my biblical belief, but that there were definitely other things that were being more important theological issues that were being described in Genesis, in terms of God's creation of everything, the nature of God being different from His creation, He's transcendent from it, and yet He's involved in it, He's immanent with it. When I began looking at Genesis not simply as a description of the natural world, but more as a theological prescription for understanding how to think about the world and understand its origins, it became much more powerful for me. So whether it's young Earth or old Earth, it's almost a question that I find to be tangential to the heart of part of the story. Now, when I look at the science, and that then freed me to consider the scientific evidence. And to me, there is very strong evidence that the Earth and the universe appear to be of great age, of billions of years in age. And so once I had a biblical understanding that didn't constrain that, then it was easier for me to understand and think about the scientific explanations. And as I said, if something appears to be that, for a scientist, I'd say that's what our scientific understanding of it would be.
Okay, I was just wondering, is there any book you might recommend that would cover this?
Well, one book that really helped me early on is Creation in Time by Hugh Ross. Came out sometime in the 1990s, and that was a very helpful book in terms of looking at an old Earth creationist sort of way of looking at things, which kept a strong emphasis on the biblical inerrancy. More recently, of course, besides age of the Earth, there's certainly other issues, such as the whole creation, evolution issues. And a book called Species of Origins by Carl Giberson and Donald Yerxa, where they look at this apparent conflict in America between atheistic evolutionists and young Earth creationists, and there's a diametric opposition between the two. But then drawing out these various middle ways of seeing things, as they call it, these different species of origins. One thing I like about this book is that the authors wrote it in a way where you're not even sure what the authors think about each of those ways themselves. They're describing them objectively without putting their weight or argument behind one or another. And in doing so, I use this book with our students at Wheaton College as well, in a particular course called Theories of Origins. And in doing so, it helps to see the different viewpoints, to see the assumptions, and then the conclusions that you draw from those kinds of assumptions. And it helps the students to think through the issues very much for themselves.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
All right, great.